I keep on hearing a plea for regulatory agility. That's what I'm hearing. So, I mean, when I listen to people, I listen to what they're saying, then I ask myself, what does it mean? So what it means to me is kind of looking for some kind of regulatory agility. So as a lawyer, do we have scope for that in our country, this thing called regulatory agility? Is it desirable? If the answer is yes to those, how could we do that? I'm just curious.
I think, Morris, in response to that, it's not necessarily having regulatory agility. It's having agility within the regulators themselves. And I'm going to expand on that more.
Yeah,
and
lawyers
maybe to
are
go
good
back.
with words, eh? I thought we were good with words, but lawyers are better with words.
So you have a situation on the one hand where you get increasingly complex regulation being placed on various industries. And then you have competition regulation as an example. And that in itself creates a situation where the cost of doing business increases, even if there is a drive to comply, that it involves a lot of money that's paid to lawyers and
accountants.
Yeah, and accountants. Yeah, we're not the only ones. And so it is, on the one hand, you have regulatory complexity. There are legal and processes that inform how that regulatory system comes into place. So that's on the one hand. So what Busi was saying is more a regulator being more agile. So, and that I might now be a bit more direct to say, if you're dealing with merger transactions, it does often feel like there is a tick box exercise as opposed to a deeper understanding. If you have, for example, I'm not going to mention a specific case where you have private equity investment coming into a crucial sector where the seller had a black ownership, HDP ownership, as I should say, of 70%. But the private equity investor coming in has a black ownership of 40%.
40.
Yes.
But what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, white people? We want 100%.
Yes. But then
you're going the other way.
But then to be told, and sorry to say, the seller was, the 70% black ownership was through one investor. And then to deal with the commission that says it's a 30% reduction, that's significant, so you must give us something. It's difficult then to argue that it's not a tick box exercise. And it's difficult then to motivate and say, it's private equity investment, you have all these plans that will have all these other public interest benefits, but we're only looking at a tick box exercise. And that's what we're talking about when we say raising the cost of doing business.
So how would you encourage, so if you were James and you now have all the power to recommend, remember they're still going to get clapped at the tribunal, to recommend that this thing can go ahead, how would you write the motivation in your recommendation?
Listen to the lawyers.
So give us an example. I'm just saying, give us a practical example. We are here to learn. This is a university. So kind of give us an example of how do you demonstrate agility within regulation in that type of context.
That is all of the application. And Morris, you're asking two different questions. You're asking what is the commission supposed to do to move away from doing a tick box exercise? And how does that inform a greater agility? That's what I take from your question.
Maybe answer the first one only.
Yes.
Answer the first one only.
And they are different ways to skin a cat.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you are looking at a merger assessment, for example, then if there is enough, there's business experience, background, if that says, if you have this type of investment, you will over time see that it will have greater procurement that will probably benefit small and medium enterprises. It might now have to, the merging parties might now have to rationalize their workforce, but that is in order to achieve operational efficiencies to then ultimately create employment. It's to have
So if I were James, I would say the following. I'll give you that on condition if you don't meet those targets, you have this penalty being imposed on you. So in other words, you're promising me an impact, but if you don't meet that impact that we accept, there's a penalty that you then, so you accept that there's a penalty.
No, there can't be a penalty imposed for that.
But now we are having a regulatory agility within regulation now to say we want to see social impact, public interest.
Yes.
If you don't deliver the public interest, because the one way public interest is through input, i.e. you cannot dismiss people.
Yes.
That's a public interest response.
Yeah.
The other one is, no, don't worry. I'll create triple the number of jobs output. I'm said, fine. Show me the output. If you don't give it to me, the output within a reasonable period, here's a tax that you'll have to pay.
I mean, and the conditions that are getting imposed really go into that direction, except I don't, in my experience, see that account is being taken for what is foreseen in a longer term period would be the benefits. So it might be having even more of a forward-looking approach, but having conditions to ensure that you achieve those outcomes. But to say this raises another question. It raises issues within business, as I experience it. Is you have a merger that might be neutral from a competition perspective. So it doesn't harm competition. It's not pro-competitive. Non-complex mergers. That'll be approved on. So, and that's on the. Let's leave the public interest side. Let's say it has all the most beautiful outcomes for public interest. The Commission won't go and say, well, it's a neutral effect on competition, but so you must agree to a condition that gives us a positive outcome. That doesn't happen, but it happens on public interest. We have to accept that certain transactions are good even if they don't have an immediate effect. And that's where some of the agility lies and the understanding lies. Because increasing the cost of doing business is the real bugbear here.